Thank you. Thank you very much. Glad to be here. All right. Where's the clicker? Here it is. So I'd like to show you a fresh approach, a fresh perspective for your health and your health care that, as you'll see in my opinion, but also statistically, actually drives long-term wealth. And as I begin, I'd like you to read this, please. You see him shaking there in the exam room, huh? So, honey, what did the doctor say? Say you're going to die. So that joke is for the ladies because statistically, females in the home decide to go to the doctor's office first. So, what do you think? Is Ralph Waldo Emerson correct? Is the first wealth health? Why would you say so?
Without health, we have nothing.
Okay. Anybody think it goes the other way? No? Okay. Pretty obvious, yeah. I'm glad we all agree. So, let's get into that perspective. If we shut all the doors, windows, and lights and this room were to become completely dark, what could you do to brighten it up? And I've heard people say candles, flashlights, switch, open the window, let the sunlight in, flashlight app on the smartphone, right? And nobody ever says, take the dark out. Because can you take the dark out? Right? Nobody ever says, let's surgically remove a sphere of darkness out of the center. Because even if you did, the room would still be dark. And even if you could molecularly study the darkness in great detail and design a substance to inhibit it or attack it or block its receptors, even if you did do that successfully, the room would not get brighter. Because the only way to make the room brighter is to add new light. And so darkness and light are really two sides of the same coin. It's just the same thing. In fact, there's no such thing as darkness. There's only light and how much light you have and all the shades in between. And in our practice, that's how we see your health. We see your health as the light. And we see symptoms and disease as the shadows and the darkness. That's just an expression of how much health you have. So health and disease are now two sides of the same coin. It's the body always doing the best it can with what it has. And so the way that we help you increase your health and decrease your disease is we focus on turning up the light in your body. We actually focus on your health. We actually care for your health in our healthcare model more than we care for go after the disease. Okay? So what is this? It's that right there. And there's no way you could have known that without having the whole perspective, right? So in our model of assessing your life, we take a complete perspective. So when we run labs, we don't just look at one number, like a TSH for a thyroid, to decide if you have a healthy thyroid or not. We have to get the whole panel to accurately interpret one part of the system, right? What's this? It's that right there. And I do it again to say, not only in getting the perspective of what's going on in the situation, but I can tell you from experience, medical history, and the hundreds of years of my teachers' experiences throughout medical school training, the only way that we've ever seen somebody actually get healthier, despite their age, to actually be and feel healthier, is to treat their whole systemic organism at once. Because it prevents this from happening. Where you have multiple specialists saying, well, I don't do that. You got to go to the endocrinologist. Oh, well, I don't do digest. You got to go to the gastroenterologist for that. Well, you got to go see the podiatrist for that. In this model, and I'm not against specialists, I consult with them often, and I honor specialists, and they're part of our team. But what I'm saying is, when you're getting treatment for yourself, for your optimal health, if you have one person focused on one thing, and they don't know what's going on at the other, the patient gets all this treatment, but they never actually get better. Okay. So how are you going to do this? This is the spectrum of wellness. Most people come into our office somewhere in the orange or the first red. They have signs and symptoms, something's not working, or they recently been diagnosed with a disease. But how did they get to that point? They came down the spectrum of wellness. And the way we get them back up is we take them back up these steps by rebalancing these processes in the body. And basically, by turning up the light in the system will heal itself. The body's really good at doing what it can do to heal itself as long as it has everything it needs, which is the quantity and quality of the requirements of life, and it doesn't have a lot of stuff it doesn't need, which is environmental toxicity, obstacles to cure, whatever it may be. So the goal then in our practice, or in any practitioner who practices with this model of health, is to keep you fluctuating in and out of the blue here, rather than fluctuating in and out of symptoms. You know, oh, I feel better, I'll leave, come back 6 months, I have another problem. Get you better, leave, come back, have a problem. The goal is to walk you all the way up and keep you fluctuating up here. I forgot to introduce the spectrum, I'm sorry. At the top is your health potential. As Jeff alluded to, optimal health. This is all the health ability you have in your body genetically to express. At the bottom is physical recycling. And if we all did absolutely nothing for our health after this meeting, we would all slip down to physical recycling. That's from dust you came to dust you return. That's where your body recycles back to the earth. And so it requires maintenance. It requires an input. It requires you to frequently input the light to continue moving up that spectrum. If we do nothing, like the laws of entropy, what happens to your home or office if you don't clean or organize it at least once a month? It's going to quickly go back down to whatever you call it when it's at that stage. It'll get messy. So this is our therapeutic order, basically. So anytime someone comes in or wants to work on a certain goal or has a question about a health matter or condition, this is the approach we take. Most of our patients, for most conditions, are getting better somewhere in the first 5 steps. Okay? We have all those things to do before we get to step 6, which, as licensed naturopathic medical doctors in Arizona, we can write prescriptions for pharmaceutical agents, but it's not our first choice because we have so much we can do first. And then lastly, we would do any invasive therapy. But again, most people can get a lot of improvement somewhere in the first 3-5 steps and not have to go to step 6 or 7. So to illustrate this, this is published in medical literature as the total body burden. And I make it a bucket here to make it visual to help me and you understand it. This bucket represents all the waste that your body has to deal with. Metabolic waste that you make every day, environmental toxicants that we're exposed to every day, and it represents all physiological stress, not just psychological stress about Terry making the market drop or not, but even the stress of drinking an ice-cold drink, because your body has to warm that up to about 98 degrees, right? And if you drink a hot coffee, your body's got to cool that down to about 98 degrees. So any kind of physiological stress, this bucket represents our body's ability to handle that. And the way our body keeps it balanced is it uses the primary organs of elimination, which is called emunctors. And that's an old medical school term. Emunctorology used to be a part of medical school. And that's going to be these organs here. And what they do is they empty the bucket. So what do you think happens if your bucket overflows and spills over even one drop? In other words, your body can't self-regulate itself anymore. It can't keep the ability to maintain an internal balance. What do you think happens? What happens is, the body's very wise, it'll try to start using the secondary emunctors. And it'll start to try to excrete and push this overflow out of the secondary emunctors. So what happens when it starts coming out the skin is you get allergic reactions, rashes, different kinds of skin lesions, basal cell carcinoma, squamous carcinoma, skin cancers, right? When it tries to come out the musculoskeletal system, you get all the myalgias, trigger points, muscle pain, spasms. The joint fluid in your synovial joints is a filtrate of your blood, just like urine. So your body will try to filter the blood to keep it clean and put that waste in the joints, because it's safer in the joints causing arthritis than it is in your brain, right? Causing damage in your brain. When it starts overflowing out of the mucous membranes, you get all the different polyps and itises, colitis, IBS type symptoms, IBDs, so forth. It overflows in the immune system with frequent colds and flus. The immune system can't keep up. It can turn into allergies and asthma, hypersensitivity reactions. If that gets suppressed enough, often turns into asthma. That gets suppressed, it can turn into autoimmune disease. When it overflows into the nervous system, start to get brain fog, memory changes, cognitive decline, neuropathies, paresthesias, numbness and tingling, so forth. The neurons don't have everything they need, which sometimes is a B12 deficiency, or they have too much toxicity overflowing into their system to function properly. Secreting glands, over 90% of cancers right now in the United States are some kind of glandular adenoma. Breast cancer, prostate cancer, ovarian cancer, and so forth. And then mentally emotional changes, because we have an emotional emunctory. Whether it's positive or negative emotion, there's a lot of energy, and you don't have a way to share that and get it out, it'll build up and cause symptoms. So that has to be in the flow. Whether imagine winning the lottery, you have all this excitement, and nobody to share it with. Where's that going to go? Or you suffer the loss of a loved one, which is great change, great grief. You have nobody to share that with. Where does it go? It stays stuck, and it'll overflow your bucket, cause symptoms. Okay? So a lot of people say, well, what about genetics? Well, I use this picture for genetics because genetically, this tree is designed to have a green canopy and brown limbs and be a healthy, good-looking tree, right? So what would happen if this tree all of a sudden started showing symptoms of disease? A lot of people might say, let's cut that branch off, let's spray it with some chemicals, and hope it gets better, right? But why did the tree all of a sudden express the disease? Even if it is an infectious agent, why today did it become susceptible to infection, but yesterday it wasn't? Okay? It's because of what's happening in the soil. Because if you put in the soil toxicants, things that the tree is not designed to use, it'll continue to manifest disease-like symptoms. But if you can take those toxicants out of the soil and give the tree what it's designed to have, in other words, what are its cells looking for? What are the requirements of life genetically for that tree? And so you therefore nourish the tree, the disease and the symptoms will go away automatically. Did you kill the disease? No. Did you cure the disease? No. Not claiming to cure disease either. All you did was give the tree what it needed, and instead of manifesting strange canopy or disease-like canopy, it began to, again, manifest more green leaves and canopy that is genetically designed to do. So I believe all of you in here, I believe in all my patients, 99.99% of the time, the person has the genetics to recover and heal and increase their health and their well-being. Their body wants to do that. It's genetically waiting to be more healthy. If you can give your body what it needs and not overwhelm it with the stuff it doesn't. Okay. So, consider this. I'm sure you guys talk about long-term care insurance. Let's pretend that these are the two exact same people who made a different decision 10 years ago. And so in one model, they chose to invest in their proactive approach to health and wellness. They became ever increasingly better. And the other model, they took a very reactive approach, just treating the disease as it pops up over and over reactively. And because in 10 years, there won't be a cell in your body that's a cell right now. You're going to completely replace your brain. You're going to completely replace your bones, your skin several times. You're regenerating your body every day. And in 10 years, you're going to have a whole new body. The quality of your health and well-being for your body is what was in the soil when it was doing so. And even economically speaking, this approach is very expensive because you keep reacting to the disease without ever treating the underlying cause. And so it manifests and burns, and it gets worse and worse and worse. If there was a fire in this building and we just cut the wire on the smoke detectors and said, hey, no fire anymore, the fire would keep brewing, and when it popped up later, it'd be worse and worse, right? That's what it is when you mask the symptoms. So you want to get to the underlying cause, right? In this approach, you get less and less expensive over time because you're continually working on treating the cause, and you react less and less to disease processes. This is why you have to have long-term care insurance, because you'll spend over half the healthcare dollars of your whole life in the last 25 years of your life, right? Or however the statistics read. I haven't checked on it in a while. So, I recommend invest in your health. Go for the light. Turn up the light, because you'll get perpetual dividends from that. Not only will you be able to share that health and wellness with the people in your life, but you'll also get perpetual dividends on yourself. Because the healthier you get, the better you sleep, the more energy you have, the more you do the activities you love to do, the less stress you feel. You have a better mood, a more fulfilling life, and you put your head on the pillow, you sleep really well when you have a very fulfilling life, right? Okay, what is biometric screening? Real quick. Biometric screening is not a diagnosing of disease. This is from the CDC. Biometric screening can be insightful, though. You may have heard of biometric screenings with this. I'm looking for Michelle for my time. But I also recommend consider these biometric screenings. I'm going to show you 5 key screenings you can get for preventative health. One's called a cardiometabolic profile. You've heard of cholesterol, right? Well, half the people that have heart attacks have a cholesterol below 200, and half the people that have heart attacks have a cholesterol above 200. Cholesterol is not an accurate predictor of any kind of cardiovascular disease, cholesterol in and of itself. You need cholesterol. Every cell in your body is 50% cholesterol. Your brain is about 70% cholesterol. All your sex hormones are made from cholesterol. Cholesterol is very vital for life. Okay? It's not cholesterol. It's what happens to that cholesterol. All these people have the same LDL number of 125. But this fellow here, Jerry, are you here today? Oh, good. Jerry has a very protective cholesterol. It has a very low chance of becoming the type that will plaque out his arteries or cause a clot and a stroke. Whereas Maria over here has very small, dense cholesterol lipoproteins, and so she carries a much higher risk for cardiovascular disease, even though her and Jerry have the exact same number. So you want to go beyond cholesterol and get the whole picture of what's happening to your cholesterol, no matter what your actual number is. Okay? Another one is a food sensitivity test. Because part of what causes atherosclerosis, cardiovascular disease, is inflammation that damages the cholesterol so that it becomes the type that plaques out the artery. And typically a chronic low-lying inflammation can be tied back to food sensitivity. These are not food allergies. These are an assessment of how food reacts in your body. And all these different situations have been seen found to improve as a result of following the results on your food sensitivity screening. That's why it's a great screening to invest in for preventative health. Just a couple more here. The micronutrient panel. So, are you getting enough of the nutrients you need? Should you take supplements or not take supplements? I say, let's just find out. Let's see what your actual numbers are. So you get an intracellular screening that looks like this, and it'll tell you what deficiencies you have. And this is a real patient. And so we screened again later, and you can see the improvement on our 2 markers there, and there was no more deficiencies coming up in our panel. And lastly, that's everything you can screen for. We can give you e-brochures if you want any information on this. Just let us know at the table. Lastly, not lastly. What about gluten? Is gluten positive or negative? Again, let's find out. Let's see if you are reacting to gluten or not. These are all the components you can test in wheat and gluten. It's more than a celiac panel. You can find out if it's affecting your brain, your skin, your intestines, and so forth. It's important because gluten can affect your digestive tract and break down these barriers and allow stuff to leak through. Okay, and lastly is an antioxidant screening. And today we have a device here, complimentary, to get your antioxidant score. You can get a color complimentary. Just see Robert, wherever he sets up. He'll be set up at our table here. You can get an antioxidant screen. It'll give you a 3-month average. It's called the Fruit and Vegetable Lie Detector. It'll let you know how much antioxidants you have in your system. If you want to get an exact number, we can do that. It costs us money, so we'd ask you to pay $20 and we'll give you an exact reading. But do get your color complimentary. So that's the review. If you want a review and all that, I'll send that to you. Just let us know at the table. And at our table, please stop by if you want to do any of these things here. Get your screening, answer questions. We have 2 other doctors here you can speak with if you're interested. Thank you.